Mike, I'll ask you to just kind of repeat yourself from last night on the radio show and just lay out what you're going to do with Scott Martin for us from here on out, basically.
Yeah, I just think, we started the Big East season and we had him, I think, really close to 100% in those first 2 games. And the last 4, we've been kind of piecing it together with duct tape and ibuprofen and not practicing, and it's just not very productive for him, and it's not productive for us. Scott and I talked yesterday, and I thought, we need to shut him down to see if he could get back to have one more run for us. And, I hope he does, but I don't know if we can count on that, quite frankly. So that's kind of where we're at with Scott, and I talked to our team about that yesterday before practice, and, we're probably reinventing a little bit right now with rotation and front line, and I think all options are open with the guys at our disposal.
What are the odds that? Can you even put odds on him coming back, or is it impossible to tell?
Brian, it may be hard to put odds on it. Maybe. Hey, I'd say let's say 50-50, to be safe. And but I think for us as a coaching staff and a team, and I told Scott this, we need to move forward like that's not going to happen. I don't think we can, count on that or plan on that. So that's kind of the attitude we've taken. Now, I also talked to our team yesterday. This is not unfamiliar territory to us. 2 of the last 3 years, with Luke Herringody going down and then Abro going down, we've had to figure it out with a guy a pretty good player that's been off the board. Goody returned in an off-the-bench role. Abro never returned. So, it's territory we've been in before. And so you're kind of planning. I think we have to plan like he's not coming back. And if he does come back, man, it's a pleasant surprise. And when that is, I really don't know.
It's so. Do you figure out who's starting on Saturday over the next few days?
Yeah.
An idea yet?
Yeah. No, I think we just we needed a couple good days of hard practice yesterday, today, tomorrow. Right now when you're where we're at, we've lost 3 out of 4. You need to get back into a good practice rhythm. I think we need to clean up some things offensively. Screening better. We certainly need to rebound better. We can, all things we have to emphasize in practice. And while you're doing that, you're evaluating, who are you going to start in that spot on Saturday. But, I think it's Austin Burgett, Garrick Sherman had a really good practice yesterday. He everybody's back on the board. Zach August, you could play small, which we have at times with. Pat and Cam in there with our guards and Jack. I think all of those things are things we have to evaluate. And not just this week. That's kind of who we're going to be here moving forward.
And talked about it, just last thing for me, Austin and Zach. I mean, what's tricky about those guys not having gotten a big chunk of minutes so far, but basically throwing them into the fire in late January?
Well, I think if you dwell too much on that, like, oh man, they haven't been in games. If you approach it with them, they've practiced against pretty good players. They've been in our system I'm more looking at it that way. I use the example of Carlton Scott. Carlton Scott, when Herringody went down, was a bit player. And all of a sudden, when we asked him to do a lot, he really delivered. Now, he was older in our system at the time. He was a little older, but these guys have been in our system for a while. But, we've got to take a look at all things. Garrick, we got away from him. We got to get back in it, and we need all those bodies right now. So I wouldn't want to dwell on it. And if they have to play their way into it a little bit, the young guys, we can do that. We can do that. There's a lot of games left, and if we have to learn on the fly for a while to have what we need to have in February, then that's what we got to do.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Wes?
Yeah, hey, Mike. Just wondered how Garrick responded when you went away from him, and now kind of out of necessity he's, like you said, back on the board. But Was there frustration on his part, your part?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was frustration on his part. He's a competitive guy, but he also knew when we talked, he knew he really wasn't delivering for us. He was his worst critic. And so, we went with Tom Knight. And now I'll say this about him. During games, he was great with Tom Knight over there on the bench. He was helping him. But, he wants to play and wants to be part of it. He's got, a year and a half left in his college career. So, I thought yesterday his bounce and fight was interesting to see. And, when opportunity knocks, it's funny how, guys like, the door's open. Martin's down. There's opportunity again. So it was good to see. But I do think, rightfully so, there was some frustration, some disappointment. But business is business as far as production.
Earlier in the year, you had talked about how, during timeouts, you'd noticed guys really talking things through on their own, and sometimes you can kind of just step away and listen to them, Eric included there, with, not knowing if Martin's going to be out there or not, and with, I think, what Jack said the other night, how sometimes there's just been a problem communicating across the board. Have you seen some guys regress in the leadership, category? And, who do you need to kind of step up and take over if Martin's not going to be able to play?
Well, we have lost a voice, and maybe our most consistent voice in Scott, at least out there on the floor. I think he'll continue to be a voice in the locker room and around practice, and we'll need that. But I sat down with Jack and Eric and Pat and Jaron, and really those guys. Two of them are captains, but two of them need to act more like captains now, and be more vocal that way. And I think a lot falls on Eric and Jack. I think they're very up to it, and I think we just need to identify that, you guys have to be more of a voice right now. You can't. The attitude of, Scott will talk about it. Scott will bring it up. Right now that's not there. So that's something we have to really be conscious of developing over the next couple days, and in a game, can we do that in the locker room before the game, in the locker room at halftime when I walk out. Scott was the great endorser of the message a lot of times. We're gonna, not one guy can replace that. There's too much experience there with Scott. We need that little more by committee, and but that you just can't say, okay, we need to do that. That needs to be developed over the next couple weeks. I think that's something I've got to really keep an eye on and keep bringing to the forefront. We watched film. Just an example. We watched film yesterday, and I didn't talk about it. I'd stop it after a play. Class group participation. Scott wasn't in there. He was getting his knee treated. I just want to get other guys talking and communicating about stuff.
It's just how is Scott handling this? He's done a lot. He's fought to get this sixth year, and obviously this isn't the way he wanted to see it play out.
Well, disappointed and maybe relieved a little bit. He didn't want to tell me he couldn't go. It was funny, in practice the other day, he wasn't moving real good, and I kind of got on him. I said, hey, in front of everybody, I said, you got to let me know. Can you go or not? And then he kind of cranked up his motor and took a charge and got a rebound. And, again, he won the game for us the other night with a charge on 1.5 legs coming over to rotate. That's not lost on me. But I think there's a little bit of relief of, I can't do it, and I'm not helping us. And so let me step away and see if I can get myself well for one more run. And so I think we both kind of said when I brought it up, it's like, absolutely, this is the only way to kind of deal with this right now. And again, he'll go take care of his business to see if he can get healthy. In the meantime, we can't count on that. We really can't count on that. We've got to move forward with our basketball team right now, and we're 3-3 and try and figure this thing out.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Tom? Mike, was there a diagnosis of what exactly his injury is, or just a sore knee, or a continuing problem with the knee?
Tom, what you have is you've had a knee that's been really worked on with an ACL surgery and a meniscus scope, and you got some scar tissue in there, and it's nothing structural. It's nothing. There's just, when he has problems with it, when he's had problems with it, it's been 4 or 5 different spots on the knee. It's not been one thing. And I think it's the wear and tear on that leg. It's one of the reasons when he and I have talked about his future after this, playing probably is not an option. That I don't think that knee is going to hold up to go to Europe and play. And he and I have talked a lot about coaching in his future because of that. So I think he's very realistic. There's been a lot of work done on it. I mean, our doctors and trainers have done a heck of a job kind of massaging this thing, really, since the surgery. But we're at a point now where, our team has to do something with guys that are 100% physically. And he can go away and try and get well. And if it works, let's come back and reintroduce it. I mean, it's not like we're going to forget how to play with him, and he knows how to fit in with guys. But it's nothing, not one thing. It's just there's a lot of stuff in there because work is done, and it's weak, and it's painful, and he's just not the same. I watched tape. He shot fake twice against Georgetown. And he's so good with the shot fake. People are really playing him because he's shooting the three. Even though he hadn't shot it well, he's still dangerous. Scouting report says he shot fake, and he couldn't even, he used to extend and get one dribble and shoot that 15-footer. He shot fake. He took a half-step dribble and gave it up real quick. He walled up on Lubick that one time, and Lubick hit a left-handed jump hook, and that's not the physical wall up. And even against Rutgers, there was a couple where it's not the body. It's just not the body. So, I think I took him out after the Lubick jump hook, and I wasn't yelling. I was like, he just can't do it, and we got to try and figure it out. So, that's kind of where we're at.
And do you know which knee it is, left or right?
It's his left knee is the knee that's had all the work done. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, left knee.
And you talked about after the game the other night about getting together and figure out. Have you figured anything out? Aside from him, he wasn't the only problem, obviously.
Yeah, I think we have to. Offensively, even though the shooting percentage was high on us, what did they score? 63, 65, 63. 63. You should be able to absorb, especially here. In our 3 losses, we're averaging, I think, 57 points. Offense, we got to score more. We got to score more. And one of the things we talked about ball reversal in the last week, but I think we need to emphasize screening for each other more, not just ball screening. And those are things we did yesterday. I'm going to watch some film of practice with us over the next 2 days as we're trying to find ways to get better looks offensively.
And it seems like Jack hasn't been quite as dominant in the past 2 games as he has. Is it his problem or a problem with his teammates not getting the ball to him? Or
I think he's got his touches. I think sometimes he's tried to force some plays because he's feeling guy. We're not scoring out there. Now we haven't shot it very well either, and we shot it through the roof, and we had some looks. The other night, when we've been successful, we've banged down some threes. We had some great looks. Cam had some great looks. He came up to me and said, "Coach, I'm going to make that." I said, "Man, don't just keep taking good shots." But I think maybe Jack puts a lot of pressure on himself to, I got to get us going, and maybe forces some plays in there. And there's a fine line with our offense between establishing Jack in the post and him coming out and ball screening. Is it a night he can score over the guys guarding him? Is it a night he needs to ball screen and roll into getting stuff? I think that's something we're always evaluating and analyzing. And in our league, there's a lot of length and bouncy guys. Jack's not an above-the-rim guy that can bother him in there. And, we've talked to him about shot faking a little bit more, not just going up through guys all the time looking for the foul. And But I think it's something we're always trying to analyze as a staff. Can we just throw it to him and he can score some, or do we need to get him out in a ball screen and roll him down? Some of his best stuff is off a Jaron and Eric ball screen, and we roll him down, and the defense is a little into help and recover, and then he has an angle to go ahead and score instead of a body squared up behind him.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for those on the line?
You said last night the attitude with the coaches and the players. You're pissed. When you're pissed, what's at the top of the list? You can point to so many things.
Yeah.
But what's the one thing you've kept coming back to maybe during this run where you're like, I'm pissed off because this isn't us?
I think rebounding, sticking our nose in there on the backboard, keeping it to one and done more consistently. Giving people second shots has been an area I think we need to do. We didn't do it yesterday. We were more concentrating on screening in our offense and playing offense without Scout Martin. We look differently. We got to get used to playing with two bigs or really small. Now, Austin Brigette also gives us the Scott Martin look. Got to get reps there. But rebound. We need to do some rebounding drills today where we're banging around and, shoving each other around a little bit there. Scott not being able to bounce has hurt us there. He's been a good defensive rebounder for us. We haven't had that. We've had Pat has helped us and Jack, but we haven't had that. We need, more guys in there, and even our perimeter guys, some rebounding stuff. So, and I don't want, you can't, you don't want to dwell too much on all these things. You're 3-3 in the league. You're in a position to still earn a bid. How can we get flowing and we got nothing to lose in play? And I'm trying to get us into that frame of mind for Saturday instead of, oh my God, if we don't, if we play like that, we're gonna play tight. You know what? Hey man, we're 3-3. Can we snatch a bid? Let's just play. Let's just play. And Georgetown played like that the other night. And it's funny how Villanova played like that last night. The more Big East teams can get into that mode more often than not, let's just play and compete. All right, let's not overanalyze this thing. You got a chance to get enough to get in this dang tournament. That's kind of frame of mind. But we need to stick our nose in there on the backboard today, doing some stuff.
As of Sunday, the goal of winning a Big East regular season championship was still there publicly. It went from winning a Big East regular season championship to let's get to 9-9 or hopefully get to 9. Is that kind of a big jump for a team that's a veteran team?
Yeah. I think for us, and I haven't said, we're taking the regular season title goal off the board. I mean, I don't want to say that right now. But as you heard me talk last night, I think I'm pretty realistic about this league and where you're at and who you are and how do you get a bid. And, I think it's more, I haven't given them big picture about, okay, the NCAA tournament. It's been more of just this capsule of we need to reinvent ourselves a little bit this week before we play again. I think that's a discussion you have to have probably in the next week, big picture. I've always given guys updates because I don't want them to think all is lost getting a tournament bid. I mean, we are 6-4 against the top 100 of the RPI. We're 3-2 against the top 50. So our base is pretty good. We have 6 games left against the top 20 of the RPI, and we don't have to go 6-0. So we've got stuff to get one of those things. On days like this, you say, where do I sign up for a 9 or a 10 seed? And I can't wait to get there. Or send me to Dayton, and I will go and we'll get there early. I mean, that's the reality of where we're at. But we'll talk realistically about that, I think, in the next week where we're at. I think right now we're kind of reinventing. We don't have Scott Martin. He's gone. Here's how we're going to play. And for me, yesterday I was like, how are we going to play long periods of time without Scott Martin? 2 bigs? Are we smaller? Austin Brigette? I still don't have those answers. I think you'll see a little bit of everything on Saturday.
Last time you'd lose a guy, you have a long road trip up to Spokane. Now you lose a guy, you have a long trip to Tampa. What is it about this team where you think they'll respond better than?
Yeah.
Still, last year you were still kind of flawed.
Right. I think last year we were searching and feeling. We had no idea. We had already been thumped a couple times. I have a lot of confidence in this group and what they've been through in the past and rising up to compete our backsides off. And it may not be pretty and trying to figure it out on the fly. I just think, them being, pissed will make them compete harder and know that everybody's got to be better with Martin down. Everybody's got to be better.
Mike, you talk about rebounding. You mainly emphasize defensive rebounding, but offensively, Jack has like 46% of your offensive rebounds. Sherman's your number 2 offensive rebounder, and he's 7th in playing time.
Yep.
What are you doing? What are you emphasizing on that end of the court?
Well, the other thing, with our offensive rebounding, up until recently, we were shooting it so well, there haven't been a lot of offensive rebounds. Also, when we get into this league, Tim, one of the things I'm really concerned about is transition defense with the speed we play against. And so when Scott Martin was playing, it was, for the most part, only one guy on the board, Jack. And he did a good job getting us second shots. Everybody else get back. Let's get back and make them play against our set defense. Now, when we play 2 big guys, we want those guys on the board. And we want Garrick on the board. We want Zach on the board with Jack. Austin Burgett in there, it's different. Let's maybe get him back. If we're playing small, obviously with Pat and Cam and the guard, we need to get back. And so that's kind of been our philosophy of, we get a great shot. If Jack can't get it, let's get on back and make our stand.
What about when you're playing somebody like Georgetown, which is more deliberate half court, South Florida, a little bit more deliberate? Are you a little bit more inclined
to go to the board?
Yeah.
Because South Florida is smaller this year and not the imposing front line, and that we're going to be in heavy doses of 2 big guys, given Scott's situation, let's go see if we can play some volleyball like people have played against us to get some second shots. Excuse me. And I think anytime we have 2 bigs, we've done that. That's why Sherm's been there. Been up there and rebounding. And, hey, man, we need him. We need him. Everybody goes through their funk, so to speak. And we went away from him. We've gone away from guys and re-energize them and get them back. But we need all hands on deck right now, given the current situation.
Can you give us a quick little scouting report on South Florida?
Well, the interesting thing about them, a team that has not really used the 3-point line, have been down like in the bottom 4 of attempts, is up there at the top right now of shooting the 3-point shot. They're smaller. Fitzpatrick, who is a heck of a 3-point shooter, is like their center. So if we're playing 2 bigs, one of our dilemmas is going to be we're playing against a small team with 2 big guys. How do we defend that? We have to be able to play zone, and we got to be able to play some zone, be good in our zone, so we're not chasing smaller guys all over the place. Now, can we rebound out of it? They've always been a very solid half-court defensive team. Well, that's we just played one, and can we screen and move them around more and not be impatient and put our head down and drive too early in the possession? I think they're confident at home. I think they're feeling pretty good about how they played at home. They had a great win over Georgetown. And, again, look at our league, man. Just look at our league as far as resume. South Florida beats Georgetown, and that pulls the league RPI up. Georgetown's RPI is lower than us. They get us. Villanova gets low. It's amazing how this league has – and we've had that historically, almost to the point where at the end of the year, I think last year, I've said people may think it's a conspiracy theory to get 9 bids, but it happens. And the thing that gives you hope is because it's happening, we got a shot at more bids in the league, so try and stay in that top 8.
Villanova's coming up. Did you see that coming with their game against Louisville?
You know, they've been playing better, and they can really physically guard you. Now, they shot the heck out of the ball last night, but they physically pound you, and they've got big guys, and, that's going to be a heck of a test. That seems like a month away, but that'll be here before you know it. But you know what? With their win over Louisville, that becomes a good win. We've had this happen, and what's happening in our league is, and I said this the other night, there are almost no bad losses in our league. If you're losing to a top 100 RPI team, and I'm not talking about getting a 5 seed, or a 4 seed or a 3 seed. We're talking about getting access, which is what we're talking about right now, given our current state. You don't really have a bad loss. So, you can absorb some of that and, try to figure out a way to get in the thing. But I think there's going to be more and more of that happening in our league. I mean, here's a great look at the standings today. Do we have 5 teams at 3-3? And the team that's 2-3 has the highest RPI. Connecticut's 2-3, below all us 3-3s. I think their RPI is 28. The rest of us are like 45 to 70. So that's good math right now. When you look and go, 9-9, 10-8. That's good math when you're looking at what I'm looking at and going, how do we get in this thing? How do we get access? And how do we survive it? That's where we're at.
Mike, when you talk about reinventing yourself,
Yeah.
I think the biggest question I hear from people is, how can this team, with all this experience coming back, be in that need right now? When you think back to October, November, were there any signs at all that you could be in this situation right now?
Oh, I think anything can happen when you get into league play. You get into a comfort zone, and maybe your fans do when you win 12 in a row, and through your non-league. I am never going into league play thinking you're not going to be put up against the wall. Whether you have, we always have experience, and we've always been put up against the wall for the most part at some point. So I never going in thinking, you know what? You manage it day to day, week to week in our league, and try and rebound from stuff. Could we be a 1-1 team each week the rest of the year? Yeah. So how do you manage that? We may not rip off 5 in a row or 9 in a row. So how do you manage that with older guys? And we've been there many times.
And as you look for this 5th guy, is that you kind of touched on it? Do you want a definite guy in that spot, or could it be sort of a revolving door, even based on opponent?
I think I have to have a really open mind to that, and it could be a revolving door. If somebody jumps up there and takes that, and that's how we play with that group, like we played with Martin with those 5 on our best nights, great. But I think I'm going into it thinking, in practice yet, we're looking at everybody in a gold shirt with those 4 other guys. Zach, Austin, Sherm, Tom Knight, and they all got equal rotation. I think we got to do it. We're going to do it today. We're going to do it tomorrow, and we're probably going to do it in the first half on Saturday to see, what do we have?
Given Scott's age, the history of the knee, the minutes that he played last year, was there any ever thought on your part back in October, July, when you're on the road recruiting, what if the knee doesn't hold?
Well, there's always that thought because we've had to manage him before. Yes, and I've always listened to him. He knows his body. How you feeling? And we started off the season with it really healthy, feeling good. You tell you how fluky the first tweak of it came was when he got stood up out of a media timeout at Cincinnati. He tweaked it. He didn't tweak it out in there. I asked for the game. He was icing. I said, "What's up?" He said, "I can't believe it. I stood up from the seat in the media timeout and something gave." Now he got through the game, but since then, we've never really been the same. And it's not a major thing. It's scar tissue, but you're always thinking about that with him. And but we've also been able to manage him, with how to shut him down, how to, we've really kind of done it ever since he's come back from the ACL. Even that year with the 5 old guys and Ben, there were days we had to manage him there. And our Skip and our doctors have it down to a science. That's not working anymore, and so we got to try something else.
Is there a minimum amount of time in your mind that, okay, maybe in 2 weeks he'll be back, maybe in 10 days he'll be back?
I would love to see how he feels in 2 to 3 weeks. I'd love to see, and there's a lot of season left, even after a 2 to 3 week layoff. Let's see where he's at then, and that's kind of, I think, our frame of mind as coaches, and I've told our team that. I've kind of told our team, like, we can't count on that, right?
So that would be the earliest you would expect him.
Yeah, that would be the earliest. I think that would be the earliest. I think 2 to 3 weeks, let's see where we're at, and kind of go from there.
Little trepidation going into Tampa this week, because you've been there before, but you've never been there. You don't know what the building's like.
Yeah. Well, we actually made a practice facility tour last September, and that was one of the places we went. God, their practice facility is beautiful, but their arena wasn't ready yet, so we didn't get into their arena. I saw their AD this fall, and he talked. They got a restaurant, and I heard it's beautiful. And we'll get in there. We'll get in there Friday night and get some shots up. Get to see it. And but I'm interested to see it. I heard they've done a great job, and they're playing well there. They're a tough group. They defend you. They're athletic, bouncing up on our backboard. That worries me with how we've given up some volleyball stuff lately. Thank you.